Patrick Mahomes is setting records, and he and Andy Reid are setting this league on notice that the Chiefs are a contender in 2018. We're going to talk about all of that, plus the defense and a couple other things coming at you right now. Welcome back to RGR. 2 weeks in and 2 wins down. This particular team is off to a great start in 2018, and it is mostly due to Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid. You got to give credit where credit's due. This is RGR Football. I'm Ryan, and this is me going rogue about the Chiefs and the NFL and the AFC West and all kinds of topics about that. I'm going to talk about all kinds of things, every aspect of this team this week after their second win, and they are sitting atop the AFC West. As I talked about earlier in the season, this was kind of the expectations. There are a lot of pluses and some minuses as well. We're going to talk about all of that. But if you like what you're seeing, consider subscribing and click that notification bell that lets you know when a new video goes up. Appreciate all your comments. We want to have a good conversation around here. And if you like what you're seeing, always hit that thumbs up because that helps other people find us and get more information about this team and about this league. I had a pretty good weekend. Didn't get to see the game in a normal fashion. I happened to be out with my family on a trip that we already had planned, and we kind of do this every year, so the second game of the season I usually miss seeing it live. But this week, I got to see it in a little bit of a different way. Here's a look at what I was looking at. And honestly, it went fairly smoothly. Game Pass actually worked. And if you don't know about what I'm going to show you today, all the film and stuff, that comes from Game Pass. Now, Game Pass lets me look at the All-22 film, and that's what's going to be featured here as well. You can find that on the NFL site if you want to subscribe to that as well. But the big story of the week, Patrick Mahomes, right? 6 touchdowns against the Steelers, a team that has had the Chiefs' number for quite a while. And yes, it's great that the Chiefs get a win, but to get a win in that particular fashion and not utilizing Tyreek Hill as the focal point of the offense as well really demonstrates the diversity they have going and the fact that they can attack you at every level on every part of the field. And that's really the key that is going to keep this offense moving against defenses that start to get more and more film on it. And film's going to be what we look at today. Now, the 6 touchdowns, it's a record and it's a fairly significant one. 10 touchdowns in 2 weeks to start a season. Best ever start, period, in the history of the NFL. And the kids' number 2 and number 3 starts. The 2 guys that he beat out for this record, who had previously thrown 9 in 2 games, guys you might know, Drew Brees and Payton Manning. So in terms of getting off to a good start, Pat Mahomes is in rarefied air already. And this looks like it's going to blow away my prediction of something like 27 touchdowns, pretty much out of the water by the time the season rolls around. Don't know that he's going to hit the 40 mark. A lot of people were projecting 32, 35. He may still get there. We'll see what defenses do to corral some of that. And it may be what we saw some against the Steelers, and we're going to get to that and what those things happen to be. But you got to give Andy Reid a lot of credit as well. He's making things easy for Pat Mahomes. He's letting Pat Mahomes do what he does. Saw a lot of empty sets against the Steelers. Saw a lot of quick reads, passes that can get out to the playmakers and let them run with the ball. Sammy Watkins woke up. That was good to see. A lot of things went well for him. But one of the things that I think was a focal point of this week, and every week there's a game plan. If you missed my game plan video last week, have a look at those because I'm going to be doing them every week. And some of the things ran true, and some of those were wrinkles that Andy Reid came up with. And one was this post concept. The post concept is something that gets moved in and out of this particular team's offense fairly regularly. It's not always a staple, then sometimes it's leaned on pretty heavily. And what he did is the first touchdown to Conley went to this post. Now this, I'm going to walk you through the play itself, but at the heart of it all, it was a post concept out of that position for Chris Conley, and we're going to take a look at that now. Looks like cover 2 to begin with. They try to come down into like a cover 2 man under and just don't get all the way back out. Conley runs free for the touchdown. This would have beaten cover 2 either way. Now, obviously, that was a great play, and unfortunately, he followed it up later in the game on another target where he made a nice move. He was fighting for extra yardage, and the ball came out. And it was a great play by Cam Hayward to punch that thing out. It could happen to anyone, and while I wish he had secured it a little bit more, it was fairly secure. I think that was more of a plus play on Hayward's part than a negligent play on Conley's part. So the fact that he's on the board and has a touchdown, he's contributing to the offense when he has the opportunity, that's just something that we want to see from Chris Conley. Yes, they're going to concentrate on Tyreek. Yes, they're going to concentrate on Watkins and Kelce, especially after the Steelers game. So the next guys up are going to be the two that caught passes for touchdowns in Robinson and Conley. And I think Conley's a guy who can make a lot of hay with this particular quarterback in this particular offense. So give him a break for now. Let's see what develops and see how much more usage he gets out of it. Now, the other thing is that we saw Kelce run a similar post pattern that got him into the end zone as well. Now, Mahomes and Kelce were on the same page very, very much against the Steelers. But there's a particular touchdown that really showed exactly how they can use this same concept of the post pattern in different combinations with different receivers. But the throw's going to look very similar. The read's going to be very similar. And it's going to be attacking what I think you're going to see more defenses do going forward. Yes, the Steelers run a lot of zone, but the defense overall in the NFL is going to have to look at running more zone in order to try and combat the arm strength and honestly the velocity of the ball. Even if it's not deep downfield, the ball is delivered so quickly that you're going to see more and more teams go to these deeper zones, I think. The Steelers tried to play cover 2, and the post is a great way to beat that particular coverage, and that's what happened here. Let's have a look at it.
Kelce here out of a inside slot position, out of an empty backfield. The Steelers are trying to defend in a cover 2. He just gets beyond the linebacker, and the ball is delivered with such velocity, he squeezes it in between the cover 2 deep safeties.
Now, that said, that's one way to beat the cover 2. There's going to be others. They're going to see people play quarters, which will be give you a similar safety concept, but they're going to be a little more concentrated in the middle. I think some cover 3 is going to leave some holes where the Chiefs are going to get a little more creative. They're going to have to fake that post and go back out towards the corner. They're going to see those deep digs come out. But those are other zone beaters that they're going to have to get to. And again, a little bit more complex reads for Patrick Mahomes, but he's not having any trouble yet. So I don't see any reason for it to be a worry at this point. Now, one worry is the offensive line. A lot of miscommunication, a lot of penalties against the Steelers. Now, they're a physical front, so I'll give them credit, but I wanted to see more out of the run blocking in particular. Like my game plan from last week told you, they ran well over the guard space on the right side behind LDT. Not his best game. He had a couple of penalties that I didn't like, but clearly that was a direction that they could make yardage, and they did. So I'm going to keep an eye on where those areas are to attack, because I think as the season wears on, Kareem Hunt's going to get more and more important to how this offense continues to maintain its momentum. So we're going to look for that. The O-line's got to get better. This is a physical front, like I said, and they are more of a finesse line. I don't see many nasty players. There's LDT and there's LDT. And maybe there's Fisher. Everybody else is pretty much a finesse player, and that's okay. That speed and that mobility really helps. You notice that the screen game has been down to this point in the season. Look for that to come on, because as they get to the point where maybe they're not able to run against teams like this, and as the season runs on, there's going to be some attrition, a little bit of injuries and that kind of thing. Running the ball is going to get tougher, and so you're going to see the screen game come on because these guys are built to run the screens, and it's been a part of the offense they haven't had to use yet. I feel like Andy Reid kind of tucked it in his back pocket, and he's going to come back to it later in the season, or maybe during that midseason slump that we saw last season, and try to really kick the offense into gear again in a whole other direction. And that's going to rely on offensive linemen getting outside, as well as the receivers blocking outside. And when you have guys like Conley out there, and Robinson to a good extent as well, who can block in the run game and the screen game for guys that aren't catching the ball, I think that's a really big plus. And those are two other wrinkles that I think we're going to see down the line. Now, we have to talk about the defense as well. And man, there's a whole lot there. And I think the best takeaway you can have is that the two acquisitions this offseason in Anthony Hitchens and Kendall Fuller are paying off. They're playing well. They're the best guys at their positions or their position groups on this defense. And that's something that you have to give credit to Brett Veach about, going out and getting those guys. Those transactions really have changed the shape, and it's given them a base to play from. Yes, there are inadequacies all across the board. I think, honestly, the only group that didn't come up inadequate this week was the defensive front, the linemen in particular. I thought they all played very well. I like what we saw in penetrating gaps from Xavier Williams. Clearly, Chris Jones is Chris Jones. His off-the-ball snap got in the backfield, causing disruption. And Allen Bailey showed up huge. The guy is just too strong for this league. He clearly looks like he's healthy again, like he feels it. What he did to Ramon Foster, in fact, I'll have to show that clip.
Pretty straightforward. Back the guard into the quarterback's lap. Put your arm up. And then at the end of the play, hey, get off me. Get off me. I'm too strong.
It's just tough being that strong. Now, one other thing, and we'll probably talk about it next week or the week after, there's another move that I think Brett Veach needs to make, and it's probably not the one you're thinking of, but I'm going to have a video on that coming up. And it's going to be important because these two acquisitions in Hitchens and Fuller have really paid off. One guy that I want to pay off, we're going to talk about next, is Reggie Ragland. And Reggie's a guy that I loved out of college. I knew he was going to take over and kind of hinted at you guys before he actually got on the field. And he looks like he's a step faster. He's got some of his speed back, I think. We saw him still a little bit slow on just physically attacking the ball in week one. In week two, it looks like some of that's back. He's still a little hesitant in some reads. He had a couple of things that you can argue were him or Bob Sutton. Here's a couple of plays from Reggie Ragland back to back that show just what his strengths are and that he's just not quite 100% yet, but I still think he's improving. This is going to get better.
First here, Ragland keys, attacks the ball carrier, and gets there in a split second, straightforward. Here, the shift throws him off guard. He follows the counter, but accelerates, gets to the ball carrier. Unfortunately, he doesn't finish very well. I did this in high school.
Now, there's another play that goes to show you what's going on with the defense, and that's another one here where Reggie Ragland is actually slow, gives up a big pass, and I think it's more about Bob than it is about Reggie, because as we go through it, you'll see where the assignments need to be shifted, and assignments is the big thing that we need to talk about with Bob Sutton.
This is a full box. The motion should shift this, and what happens is you see that Ragland does not take the fullback across the formation. Again, from this angle, what we're going to see is the shift should make the assignments change, with Ragland taking Connor and Hitchens taking the outback, the fullback. Unfortunately, switch didn't get made or wasn't allowed to be made by the assignments.
Now, those assignments are troublesome. The other one that's troublesome, not only that, but he continues to stick putting guys into positions where they can't win. Erik Murray's drawn a lot of ire the last week, including from some of my co-hosts. And if you haven't listened to the Locked On Chiefs podcast, jump on there. There's a link down below. Erik Murray is, again, playing out of position. He should be a free safety. He should be playing in space, attacking wide receivers. In fact, he had more success against slot receivers against the Steelers than he did against the tight end that he was assigned to cover all day long. This is a guy who's giving up 4, 5, sometimes 6 inches to the guy he's trying to cover, and it's just not something that he's capable of. Yet Bob Sutton continues to put him in matchups and squeeze him into those things where a tight end can take advantage of Erik Murray, and it's not good for the defense. It's not good for Murray, and I think Murray's getting a little bit of a bad rap. He came up and made a couple of plays that are important, and I think that you got to give him a little more room to move. Now, when Eric Berry comes back, that role's going to be played by Berry with Parker deep, and Murray becomes your third safety / nickel corner / whatever he can play. I think he can do well in that role. We saw Armani Watts get some snaps too, and as he is still fighting from being out early in camp, I think he's still on that learning curve, but you're going to see Armani Watts play some as well. But what they have to get, Watts is going to be in the same situation. He's not going to play tight ends any better than Erik Murray in terms of the physicality part. I think he's a little more instinctual about playing the ball against tight ends or against pass catchers in general, so maybe he'll have more success that way. But we'll have to see. But really the key of the defense, at least in the back, is getting Murray to the third safety position rather than a starter. Eric Berry, if he's back, then things get a whole lot better pretty dramatically and pretty quickly. Now, lastly, I just want to say that in tracking the snap counts, it's raising its head again. Game plan is game plan, but there were too many snaps where they were only sending 3 or even sometimes they only sent 2 D linemen and had both Ford and Houston dropping into coverage. This number, 23.7. That's how much Justin Houston was in coverage against the Steelers, and that's just too much. He had a couple of pushes. In fact, one that was called back. He can still play with power. He doesn't look like he's as explosive off the start as he used to be. I don't know if that's still playing in, if that's assignment, if that's just trying to attack a guy with power this particular game. But Justin Houston can still play with power. That's what he can do. We want to see a little bit more from him. He's got to get more reps. He's got to be able to set up his pass rush with more repetitions. Have a little bit more diversity to go inside versus out. We didn't see a whole lot of that changing. He went back over to the left side some, and that's really about the only wrinkle that Bob threw in from looking at the game film. So keep an eye out for that. Let me know what you think. Real important. We want to talk about this as they get going for San Francisco. I will have a game film for San Francisco coming up. Game plan video, that is. So keep an eye out for that. Still planning on doing live videos. And I'm playing a lot of catch up this week. So bear with me, but we'll get back on track. Thank you for watching today, and I'll talk to you next time.